Hi everyone, this is Nate from the Stillwater Nav page. I'm creating this video to highlight some of the more advanced features of the Locus Maps app, which is my preferred app on the Android platform. If you follow the previous video and load the most up-to-date settings file, your screen should look like this when you load up Locus Maps. I've selected the MapQuest underlying imagery, which is the first map file download on my site. So you would see this imagery. The first thing I wanted to highlight was the quick settings right here in the upper right corner. You can go full screen on and off to maximize your screen real estate. You can turn a course line on and off. That will only show when you're actually navigating using GPS, but it gives you a nice line to calibrate your steering on the boat. Allows you to turn left and right easily. And zoom according to speed is nice too. That will automatically zoom in and out as you speed up and slow down. If you want to manually zoom, you can just turn that off and use the volume buttons to zoom in and out, or you can use the minus and the plus here at the bottom in the menu. The next thing I'd like to highlight is the MB tile overlay function, which is this icon right in the middle at the top. This allows you to map one MB tile over another. So you pick the underlying map tile there, and then in this icon you can turn this on and choose another offline map tile. And you can change the opacity here with the slider, and now you have the 2019 depth map overlaid on top of the MapQuest data, and you can change the underlying tile set as well. Right, so here's some imagery from 2018 in the fall when the water was really low, and you can see how closely the depth map contours match up with the actual rock shoals that appear in the underlying imagery. Sometimes you'll see the contours don't quite match the underlying imagery, minute differences there, but that's typically due to lack of data collection in that specific area. So if I turn on all the depth collection tracks, you can see that there's like a gap in the collection data in that point. It's very minor, but you can see if we went in with the depth collector and did a collection straight out this direction and right out over that point, that would complete that contour and make it a bit more accurate. Turn those off. So that's how you overlay different MB tiles, and you can do it any combination. Okay, so what I like to do is we'll leave that with that imagery, but you can change up the overlying imagery. We'll go back to the 2001 imagery, right? And now you can see kind of the darker spots that show up is from 2001 when they drained the reservoir. And you can mash up imagery any way you want. The next feature I want to demo is the next icon in at the top, calibrated maps. And here I've calibrated a whole bunch of paper map scans. And in order to do that, you can turn them on and off here. So here's the 2011 Lewis County map, which can be downloaded from my site. And now you can see I have the two MB tile layers underneath, and I have the scanned paper map loaded on top of it. So you can really start mashing up various layers. Unfortunately, the display screen does slow down a bit the more layers you have. So if you can't deal with the slow display, then just turn some of the options back off. In order to set up an image for the first time, go to the upper left menu, click More Functions. Under the Map Tools section, you're going to click Image Map Calibration. And here you can either take a photo or you can select an already downloaded image. So I'll do select the Lewis County map, and you can add calibration points. First, you pick a point on the downloaded map. So I usually try to do islands, since those are very easy to pick out in the imagery. Right, and then you pick this icon here, and you pick the same location on the rectified imagery. Right. You run through 4 or more points, calibrate out between the downloaded image and the underlying imagery, and you'll end up with the calibrated image laid out, and then they'll be available under this menu. That comes in really handy when you want to overlay imagery at various underlying map levels. So here I have really low imagery turned on, and if I come in here, I can turn on one of the older maps, the Beaver River Club 1893 map. Whoa. Yeah, the screen display slows down quite a bit when you have so many layers on at once, but let's see if I can get it around here. There you go. So now you can start to see how the map overlays really well with the underlying imagery. If you want to speed things back up, the best thing to do is turn some of those options off. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was the various routes you can download. So if you go into Google Earth with my layers and open up the boat tracks, you can individually download each section. So here I have like the depth collection tracks, my own trips following my own routes that I created. I have the Rangers routes that were downloaded off their Hummingbird GPS units. And then I also have routes that were submitted by others that have emailed me on the page. So to turn on the regular routes here, those are the routes that you can download off the page. You can also go in and then you can see my breadcrumb trails from my attempts at following my own routes. So you can start to see just how repeatable these are. Here's that Beaver River barge route that they follow through the narrow gap through rock shoals. You can see how repeatable it is. My blue routes are my attempts at following the yellow route. Sometimes it's a wide swath of routes because I know it's all safe through there, because it's a safe zone. Right? But then when it really matters and you're in a very tight spot, it's very repeatable. That's opposed to, let me turn this off. It's opposed to trips that rely on visual guidance only, like following the old rules about, go a couple hundred feet off the dock, turn left towards the third mountain peak, and go right at that peak until you're lined up with the boathouse on shore and the first grassy island. Then you turn towards the grassy island. Right? Yep, you're following this set of rules, and this is an example of how wide a swath of routes you can end up with while trying to attempt to follow those routes. It's even harder if you don't have visual capabilities like in bad weather or darkness. Right? So you can see how wide that is in comparison to my routes, which are very repeatable. And you can see how close, especially up here too, how close that blue line, all my routes follow the green routes. And you can see areas here where the pink routes, where you're just doing visual rules and relying on your memory of the area, you can get into dangerous situations as you're traversing over an unknown shoal. But the blue lines are very repeatable and go right around it. So I think that highlights the benefit of having this data on your mobile device, allowing and guiding yourself across the reservoir safely. All right, thanks.